Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how to do the lower ball joints on a 2003 to 2007 7th generation Honda Accord. All I've done so far is put the vehicle up on jack stands, took off the wheel. What I'm going to do real quick though is I've actually already done the other side, but I have everything out that I'm going to use, so I'm just going to run down real quick with you. Hold up your brake caliper, use tons of this. You always want a pry bar. You're going to need a 36 mil to get the axle nut off. You might need that. I don't think we're going to need it this time. I tried to use it last time and it didn't work for me, but I'm going to show you the trick that did it. Good half-inch drive ratchets, good set of vice grips. These are lifesavers on this stuff. Got a set of X wrenches just because we got that style of upper ball joint to remove. A few 3/8 tools, impact sockets here. Little set of wrenches. These are probably the only ones I'm going to use. Alright guys, first thing I'm going to do is start with all these little bolts, get some penetrating oil on them, just get that out of the way. And like I said, I've got that good impact. It's going to make a lot of the nuts and bolts around here a lot easier to take off, but I always do these little ones with the hand ratchet. That's what I have the 3/8 out for. If you throw an impact on here, these will snap off real easy, and then you're drilling and tapping. It's a nightmare. Take them off with just a hand one, even if you've got a good impact to do it with. You got 12 mil here, two 10s here, a 10 on the back side for your ABS here, and a 10 mil up top for the ABS sensor on your upper control arm. It's real easy to snap off the little tiny 10 mil that's back here for the ABS sensor. Don't even bother trying to take that off. Just come right up here to this grommet that's in the firewall. You're going to stick a screwdriver in there, pop it out, and then we're going to unplug it under the hood. This will be the only thing that hangs from this whole assembly when we press out the lower ball joint. But next thing I'm going to show you, under the hood, there's going to be one little clip that holds the wire into the firewall, but you can usually just undo that little fastener, undo the wire, it'll come back out. The only crazy thing is, on the other side here, this one's a lot harder, so I'm going to show you how to pull that one out as well. You can see that little black clip right there. That is one that is snapped into the firewall. It's pretty easy just to pinch it over here from this side to get that one right there. Is actually the little hole is the one that holds that wire up. You can see I've got this grommet out already. About the only way I've been able to get down there to that one is back through this side with a set of long reach needle noses. It's a little tough to get to, but it's about the only way. Alright, so we unplugged it from up top. Pulls right out. We got a couple of these little nuts here still left. Next, what we're going to do is start to take off these cotter pins that are in the tie rod end and the old lower ball joint here. Actually, there's a good shot. Look at that lower ball joint. Definitely needs replaced here. So we're going to pop those out, and those can be the next two bolts that we loosen up. Okay, cotter pins are out on the tie rod end as well as the lower ball joint. I'm going to smoke these off with the impact wrench here, 17 mil. This, a lot of times we'll just zip them right off. If not, you're going to have to get out your vice grips, maybe even nip packs like I've got if you've got them, to kind of grab onto things. But key here is to just bring both of these nuts just down to the edge of the bolt, because you're going to have to give them some taps. You really want to smack this a few good times because it'll free this up a little bit, and then it'll just take a few taps down here. Now, on the other side, I took this off as well as loosening the lower strut tower here on the knuckle. Now, you'll have to do that if you're replacing your upper or doing some strut work or whatever you might need to do. But for doing this, especially when you're trying to tap out this lower ball joint, you don't take that out or this, because you need that back pressure for when you're smacking this with the hammer and getting this all to free up. Next though, what we're going to do is get the caliper out of the place, or out of the way, excuse me. Use a bungee cord. I like to go right here around this bracket. From here usually keeps it out of the way. If you need a little bit higher, sometimes I'll go around the upper control arm. Got the brake caliper secure and out of the way. Pull the rotor off, set that out of the way. I use a combination of a little chisel and a little punch, kind of get this tab out of the way so you can get the axle nut off. Again, 36 millimeter. Alright guys, we pounded out the bottom one, so this is all loose, the tie rod's loose. The only thing we got left is this upper. Got a 15 mil on the outside of this. Now these can be different, not all of them are going to have this. Some of them just have a plain old nut on it. I did a set of Moog ones on one vehicle, those are just a plain old nut. But these right here, these have the actual hex inside, so got to put your wrench on the top. Ratcheting wrenches are nice for this. And this right here is why I don't like these ones, because you can't always get your hex up inside of there. Now that that's there, give it a few wraps. I actually turn it this way because right here there's a lot of bow, so you have to turn your sledge to the side a little bit. Go ahead and do that. But next, just gotta take this upper nut off all the way. Tie rod's free. Our lower ball joints free. Our upper here, we can just lift that one up a little bit. We'll pull this back. Now you might have to give your axle here some taps, just to kind of push it back out of the way. And even with these, don't be afraid to put a little bit of spray in there on those to make it a little bit easier. Then you can just grab it on the back side usually, just give it a few extra tugs. Now that you're right towards the end, lift out of the lower, pull it straight up with your ABS cable. You're ready for the fun part, and this is real critical. Penetrating oil. You want to get it all around this trim ring for the ABS sensor, and then once you let it soak for a little bit, you want to slowly, actually I've got my screwdriver but I've got a chisel that I'm going to use, but you want to slowly just give little pries here and there. Well, I've gone around this several times, just slowly, little pries, a little bit more. Basically, you want to pry it, and as soon as you see that outer ring move just a tad, you want to stop. You don't want to put big bends into this. You can salvage these. This is one of these little parts on this job that you can easily damage. Simple part like this that you don't think about buying when you're at the parts store, just getting some ball joints. Don't mess this up and you'll be just fine. Kind of hit all the edges with a wire brush. Dig down, scrape some of this junk out with your screwdriver. And don't forget, keep soaking. If you're going to take a break, you need to go grab a beer, grab a little snack or something. This is a good time just to let something soak. Alright, so after 4-5 times of spraying this, cleaning it, scrubbing it, prying at it, the last pry just popped it out. It's pretty gross. There's some stuff on here that I would probably want to take some steel wool, Scotch-Brite, sandpaper, whatever you've got. Quite a bit of stuff in here too, so I was using the wire brush on. Clean this up. I got the big 23-piece kit, rented it, 250 bucks. If you want to keep one of these kits around, that's up to you, but I'd rather rent it every single time than spend that on a kit like this. But these are the pieces I found out that I need for the Accord. These two are the same diameter, but you can see one's taller and shorter. You're going to run out of space on this one compared to here, so you'll have to swap between these, but you'll get it. Also, something I had to use is a big deep well 26 millimeter socket. We're going to take this boot off, but this is the size that kind of fits on there and enables us to kind of hammer this bad boy out. We're ready to hammer out this ball joint, that pass-through ring of the pieces. That's what we're putting here. I've got it on the corner of my bench. I tried to press this out with the actual C-clamp. It did not work. This was the quickest and easiest. You're probably going to need an extra set of hands to kind of hold this in place while you're hammering on it. So I've given it a few hits already, guys, but I can already tell that it's starting to loosen up, so I wanted to be able to show it to you real quick here. I think it's out here, but lift it up just a tad and show you. There it goes. We're going to get it set up here in just a second. We're actually going to take the ring off here. You got to pop all of this off so you can kind of slide it in there nicely. Put it back on the other side. Make sure you hit the inside of this with some sandpaper. These ball joints I picked up actually came with that, so that was nice. Also, of course, a fresh cotter pin. Take your finger and put a little bit of grease in there. Be careful though, because there is a sharp edge on this, especially if you didn't hit it good enough with the sandpaper. So we popped the boot off of there. Easiest way to take that off, by the way, is a screwdriver. Just start on one side and peel it off. You can kind of give it a little twist to it and it'll spin right off there. First thing you want to do is get this set up. Don't just throw your clamp on here and start pinching. It might not be in there straight, so what I do is just give it a bunch of these little love taps. Just kind of get it set in there so that we can put the adapters in place. So we've got all of these in place. Like I said, we're going to start with the shorter one, because once we get this in a little ways, we actually have to pop it off, put this taller one on, because the ball joint will bottom out on the inside of this here. So make sure you guys get both of these, otherwise you're going to get this about 3/4 of the way in and then you're just going to start smashing it. And if you're using a big wrench, go for it. I'm just going to use the impact on here, just kind of get it pressed in as quick and smooth as possible. We're going to stop there. Remember, we got to switch over to that bigger one so we don't bottom out. Like I said, about the halfway point, don't go past 3/4. We're swapped out to the longer adapter there. We're going to drive it home now. Good seat. That piece right there is the one you want flush with the housing. The rubber boot back on top of it, put the snap ring around there. And then after that, you're going to get your ABS trim ring that we cleaned up a little bit. Put it back in there. Now how I was doing it is putting the edge of my dead blow around there and giving it some taps. I'm reusing my tie rod ends here. Go ahead and run a die over this. We'll save you a little bit of hassle here in a minute. So we're going to start by trying to feed our half shaft down through here while also putting the lower ball joint back in. Hey, we got lower in there. We got actually pulled it through. Gonna just drop the top in. That's in. Cotter pins are in the tie rod and the lower ball joint. The upper control arm and ball joints all tightened up. And we just threw the axle nut on. We're going to throw a little indent in there to kind of secure it. And then after that, we're going to feed the ABS sensor back up through there, plug the clip back in. Alright guys, so we got the caliper mounted back up, rotor's in place obviously, so now we just need to get our little ABS line bolted back down. I actually, even though I used my hand ratchet on this one, it snapped off, so I had to drill that one out. So even though with my recommendation not to use your impacts, it doesn't always work out, even with the hand ratchet. I got lucky, it drilled out nice, tapped nice. Snuggle these up. Throw your wheel back on, get your jacks out, and you're all done.